What's up, motherfuckers? And welcome to the first ever episode. Well, I guess it's technically second ever because this is my second time having to record this because I accidentally deleted the file that had everything that I recorded on it. Luckily, I didn't fully edit it yet, so there's not too much time lost, only like 30 minutes. But welcome to the first ever episode of my podcast, Hardly Acceptable. I don't know how long this is going to go on, so you better cherish this while it lasts. My name is Claire, also known as Claire from AAA on Twitter. This is my first time ever doing a podcast, so I'm a rookie. I got the idea from a few select people. Like, I got inspired by a lot of podcasts, like Brittany Broski just came out with a podcast, the Smosh cast, naturally. Number one, I talk a lot. So, I have too much to say about absolutely anything and everything. You got a question, I will shoot out an answer faster than you think. It's too much to say when I'm just, working and, talking to myself about random subjects. So I've decided to compress it into a 30-minute to an hour-long audio session for your listening ears. And I really hope you enjoy. I have a couple of friends that do podcasts or that have been on podcasts. By the way, if you are a listener and you think about doing a podcast or wanting to do a podcast, everybody does it in one take. And I don't understand it, so props. But also, if you're thinking about doing a podcast because you talk a lot and you don't have, really an outlet to talk that much, fucking do it. What you have to say matters. And I feel like if you have opinions on things in the world and you want to put them out there in the form of a podcast, do it. If you're a sports fan, for example, my friend Owen has a podcast called What's the Tea? So if you are a wrestling fan, then I highly suggest you could go check out his podcast before you check out mine. I'd love to give him the support. And, he's like a big brother to me. So go do it. I don't care if I have to cut random bits out. It doesn't feel natural yet for me to do podcasts. I'll ease up one day because if I find clever things to say while I'm on my own, I'll write them down or put them in a voice memo. But once I'm in front of a microphone, instead of easing up, I start freezing up. So I may not sound as smart or witty as I would when I'm talking to myself. Enough about me. Let's talk about our recent events. I'm just going to get this out of the way, what's been going on in my life. Born and raised in Tennessee. Hellbound, by the way. Hate this place. I've been doing things on YouTube under my EBW_universe YouTube page. I do universe mode. And I also do other things on my second channel, which you're hearing this on right now if you're listening through YouTube. But if you want to listen through Spotify podcasts and you want to support me, the link is in the description down below. A lot of things are happening. I recently turned 18, which is crazy. The pressure of life socially and financially is starting to hit me hard. My last year of being a kid was... interestingly enough, I'm not getting any older on the inside because I am a nostalgia geek and I was starting I guess you could call it a podcast-esque series where I would review episodes of nostalgic TV shows or just nostalgic stuff in general. I'm not here to talk about TV shows or movies for the sake of the importance of the SAG-AFTRA strike. Is that a weird way to say it? I don't know. I was going to include that in here, but I can't. Out of solidarity. Anyway, it was kind of sad because I wanted to share a lot of things. I was very sheltered as a kid, so the stuff that I got to experience wasn't as great as what everybody else grew up with. That's also another thing. I've had a hyperfixation on movies and music and YouTubers. My main focus right now is music. If I know the chorus of something, it's getting added to my playlist. I have a playlist for every vibe, every mood, every genre that I have enough of. I am also currently in the process of trying to find a job, which sucks ass. half of my friends already have jobs. You know, I'm going to implode trying to find one. I need a resume first, but I need to have experience to have a resume. So I'm going to get that out of the way first. So that's what's going on with me. Nothing too crazy, nothing too interesting. I imagine once I do have more on my plate, along with YouTube and a job and everything else, I don't know if I'll keep this up, but there are times where I would just like to come on here and open up and talk about what's been going on in my life, because that's what a podcast is. Here we have our very important portion of this podcast I like to call Eat It or Yeet It. That's right, it's a Smosh reference, which I will be talking about stuff in the media and whether or not I'm eating it up or I'm just yeeting it, not giving a fuck about it, throwing it in the garbage. And whether or not I'm eating it up or I'm just yeeting it, throwing it out, I don't give a fuck. And stuff that's happening in sports, I guess. The only sports I ever pay attention to anymore is wrestling, so I guess it's going to be the wrestling portion of our Eat It or Yeet It segment. I used to be into basketball, but that industry is already tiring with all the fans. You know, the community, the basketball community, it's fine. The fan base is a hell of a lot worse. It makes it look very tame. But there are a lot of basketball players that have very bad reputations. Don't even get me started. And to also be a Tennessee native and have my team force myself to be behind the Memphis Grizzlies, nobody on that team is worth talking about. And I'll talk about that another day. We're here to talk about SummerSlam. I guess I'm just going to start with the sports. I was going to start with, like, what's been going on for me, what I'm paying attention to on social media, like Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. We'll save that for last. It's a lot to unpack. So, WWE SummerSlam. What did we think of it? Did you like it? Did you not? Let's start out with, I'm only going to cover the mega star matches, which if I'm not going to try to waste my time on Logan Paul or anybody else that is not worth talking about. Not discrediting the other wrestlers that were performing that night. I'm just covering the matches that we heard about most or most worth talking about. I'm trying to make this spot short because this is not a wrestling-based podcast. Let's start with Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. This is a rivalry that I had a lot of hope for, and it did have a lot of potential, but they had like 3 basic one-on-one matches. Now, don't get me wrong, these men can wrestle, but it wasn't enough excitement for the fans. But to be such, like, a huge name that you get Brock Lesnar to break character and say, I'm handing the pedestal off to you, you should credit yourself for it. Because while he has been squashing people for years, he's also been putting a lot of people over, which I think he needs to start doing more of. I really don't want this to go anywhere else. I don't feel like it's necessary to drag it on. Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler. Need I say more? It was an MMA rules match. I don't know how many times that's been done in WWE before, but I am going to say, I didn't watch SummerSlam, but I'm just covering the stuff that happened. Like, I'm not as big of a fan of wrestling as I used to be, because all the booking just went unnecessarily downhill, but that is for another day as well. First of all, my opinions on Ronda Rousey basically confirmed her departure as of recording this. It was yesterday, I think. I'm recording this at like 3 a.m. on Tuesday. Sounds insane, but like, my schedule is terrible. Naturally, I'm a teenager with no job. You know, I don't have many hobbies. I can't drive. So I just gotta sit here and talk to a microphone. In my very popular opinion, because we all know that Ronda Rousey is dirt under my feet. If you used to follow my wrestling fan account, which I don't want to talk much about because there's a lot of embarrassing stuff on there. I'm still learning how to handle my emotions, and it was very aggressive, and I tweeted a lot of dumb, unfunny stuff. Everybody says that about themselves, like, I was so crazy last year. We're all learning and growing. We're going to say that every year. It's fine. Shut up. Anyway, back to what I was saying about Shayna Baszler. She grew on me extremely after she broke off Ronda. Naturally, I can accept it. That should have been what they went with a long time ago. Shayna Baszler is the person that should have been put in Ronda Rousey's spot. From the jump. The treatment that Ronda got when she won the Royal Rumble. And they've been putting others down with her for years. And I'm so glad she put a stop to it. Good riddance. I hope you have the time of your transphobic, immature life. Asuka versus Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. Props to Asuka for putting up with all that she's put up with on the main roster. One day she will get a title run that she deserves. I hope it's coming. I don't think it is, because Asuka probably doesn't have a lot of time left as a women's wrestler. Charlotte Flair always needed to be in title matches. I'm not going to say anything negative about her because I appreciate her in-ring work and she gets enough hate already. I'm looking at you. Bianca Belair doesn't... Okay, I'm going to get shit on so much for this, but it is just my opinion. You need to learn how to handle it. If you don't like it, I can't change your mind. Bianca Belair does not need a title. She can be a star on her own. She doesn't always need to be in 5-star title matches. She doesn't always need to hold the title, which is why I was so extremely proud when Io Sky came running out with that briefcase and put a stop to it immediately. We all know how I feel about the Damage Control story and everything that's happened with Bayley and their journey over the past year. Overused, underbooked, but I love them nonetheless. Dakota Kai even took the time to come out and celebrate with them, which I thought was glorious. Day one, they deserved this treatment. And I'm so glad they're finally getting it. I hope this can give them the push that they need. And especially Io. Because she is a class act. Since day one, I've heard nothing but good things about her. And she is a star. She's a future star, and she deserves this. I don't think I want to talk about the angle that they're going to do when Damage Control eventually splits. And I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bring it upon the world by speaking it into existence. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. I'm not going to waste my time on Roman Reigns. If you want to hear all my opinions about Roman Reigns, like I said, you can go to my wrestling fan account. It's all there. On the daily, he is destroying the roster. It was the Universal title that was cursing the division, and he cursed the division by hogging it and calling it his own naturally. Now it's the women's tag team titles, because Sonya Deville, that was her first ever title in WWE. She got injured while she was holding them with Chelsea Green. Which, fair enough, world. They were being booked terribly enough, and now we're going to have another tournament that's probably going to get us nowhere. But anyway, Jimmy Uso, not surprised. I'm not saying he should be jealous of Jay. You know what? Yeah, he should be jealous of Jay. Because I don't think he should be the one. It's nothing about being better than his twin brother or his twin brother being better than him. Somebody like him should not be in the spot. Give him something that he can ride off of. Because I think it's important to build a story. Now, the Bloodline story is, to some Oscar-worthy. I think it speaks for itself. the stuff with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and now Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, they better impress the hell out of me with this Jey versus Jimmy rivalry, because it's gone on way too long, and I don't know how to feel about it anymore. That is it for our wrestling portion, or sports portion. Now, we're going to talk about social. Kids these days, I sound so old saying that, but Gen Z these days, I can say this because I am Gen Z. I'm not going to try to get into that Gen Alpha shit. Everything about me and my presence screams Gen Alpha because of all the classics that I'm obsessed with when it comes to literally anything. But social media is absolutely unhinged. I'm on Smosh Twitter, for starters. I don't know what they're smoking. I can say that because I am one. Don't look at my Twitter. I don't need to prove it. Social. Everybody's on YouTube these days. We're talking about, I'm going to talk about the drama that's, surfacing on any social media platform. There's a lot of Twitter drama, TikTok drama, YouTube drama. I've been obsessed with YouTube drama channels lately. I would talk about YouTube drama, but there isn't enough for me to cover because everybody else is already covering it. And I'm not really making this podcast to spread, negative opinions or give the credit or the platform to people who don't deserve it. People who take advantage of their annoyance and think that they're so funny by it. We don't need to give them the attention. We don't need to give them the attention that they want. Because, like I said, I have a fixation on making playlists for, adding TV shows and movies to my list. I have a ginormous music collection. I'm also subscribed to a lot of YouTubers. I want to get to know everyone. I just have so many playlists of things. I have so many interests, like video games, conspiracies, icebergs. I used to be obsessed with creepypastas. Not really anymore, because they're not really as scary to me. I got into horror movies. I love horror movies. If anybody knows me, they know that I love horror movies. But I'm talking about YouTube. Drama channels I've been watching, iNabber, I'm Alex, Repsian. Diving into, lately, a lot of Colleen Ballinger lore, which there is more coming out about that, because I saw somebody tweet about it, in legal stuff that could put her in a huff. So I might cover that on my podcast. I don't know, because I will have some opinions about it, even though people are already covering it. Onision lore, I know we're not all stuck in 2017 anymore, but looking back on all the stuff that I missed, and Mr. Repsian covers it quite well, I think you should go check him out if you like that stuff. But it does delve into a lot of, possibly triggering subjects of, child abuse, sexual assault to a minor, So if you don't like that stuff, you don't have to. But if you were a fan of Onision, or you are a fan of Onision and you're thinking about changing your mind, just go watch all of that. Which, by the way, if you're a fan of Onision and you still are after watching his videos, don't come to my channel. I thought I might just put it out there. But as well as, drama channels, I rarely listen to podcasts unless my favorite YouTubers, Brittany Bursky, Smosh, are involved in them. I've never been a podcast person. I love music, don't like podcasts. If I want to listen to somebody talk, I want to look at them. Don't know why. So that's why I love watching Smoshcast and Brittany Broski, because I want to personally connect with the people that are speaking on the podcast, on the subjects. And that's also a way for me to connect with you guys as well. More about what I'm thinking about, what I'm feeling. But they are all just so funny. But to see another side of the person, when your favorite YouTuber starts a podcast, it's over. And I guess a lot of things even outside of Smoshcast, I have always wanted to be like a sketch writer or a comedy writer, or I've wanted to do theater pieces or act and make funny characters. That's always been me. So I guess you could say this podcast was inspired by Smosh as well. It's not just me wanting to talk about the things that I'm feeling and what I'm doing on the daily. It's about things that I want to share from my point of view and make all these jokes and see if they get anywhere. And I wanted to save this portion of the podcast best for last, because I know if you guys know me, you probably know me from the Sarah Christ Twitter account.
Or dead, covered in his own
I was the one that was there. Y'all want to listen to me?
All right, Sarah.
You
Shut up.
Rock.
Shut up.
Praying on my downfall.
Shut the f*** up, Tinky. Okay.
Did he pass out or did he die?
Man, I don't know.
I think
He stopped moving.
I think the most reasonable thing to do here is take fucking arrest fucking Tinky, because these stories.
Did you just call me Twinkie?
Twinkie. We're adding meth to.
You know, I'm straighter.
And if you didn't know, well, that's me. I was the woman behind the curtain all along. So, I had gotten into Smosh when I was just before I had turned 18, so that was like early July. So, I'm still an early bird. Like, it's only been like over a month since I became, like, now when I was little, Smosh was in my top 3 of YouTubers. It was like Shane Dawson, Smosh, Ryan Higa. No particular order, it depends on the day. But my first era with them was watching their Mail Time with Smosh videos, their If Blank Were Real. And like I said, my childhood, I was raised by the computer. Okay, my parents were too busy working or arguing to give a f*** about what I was consuming on the internet. So a lot of my humor comes from f***ed up shit that I used to watch when I was like 6 years old. That's right, 6. While I was also playing on Club Penguin and Moshi Monsters. I know you can relate. But then my second era was 2017 with the era of Shane, Noah, Keith, Damien, Courtney, Olivia. All of them. I forgot what the name of that era was. You know, I called them Vlog Squad. But the Vlog Squad is like David Dobrik, and I don't know what I was saying at that moment. But I know most about Smosh from that era because my brother and I, we watched their videos, and their Try Not to Laughs were super funny. The Try Not to Laugh videos are still my favorite to this day. I can't remember exactly how I went back into the era of Smosh. Maybe I just clicked on an older Try Not to Laugh video, and that's where I had developed I grew a liking to Amanda, and then I got to see some of the newer cast members like Angela and Chance, and Jackie and Arasha, and who can forget Tommy. I think it was shortly after Anthony came back, like I started watching some of their older videos, like not too old, like a week or two before the reunion of Smosh when Anthony and Ian bought Smosh, and I was like, I can't believe I'm getting back into this. So then that's when I watched the Halloween Horror Nights video with Sarah Christ, and I was like, holy fuck, this shit is gold. So I went into it with a lot of like I said, I had started a nostalgia YouTube and Twitter account, which was like, it was going nowhere. I had like 10 active followers on that. I have maybe like 4 active followers. I had 10 followers. I had 4 active followers that were on that account. Nobody was liking my tweets. Nobody watched the video that I made. I'm not going to expose what it is because I'm not posting on the Twitter or the YouTube anymore. I've given up with that. So I went into the Sarah Christ account with a lot of, I went into it very humble. I was like, this is going to be a funny thing that gets a few amount of likes. It's going to spike a little bit on the timeline, and then it's over. I made it. I started tweeting things I think Sarah Christ would say. I was doing a Sarah Christ impression, but I thought that would draw people away. I did it on a voice tweet because I had planned on doing a space and revealing my impression that way. Surprisingly, the outcome was very generous. And I had thought, this is my new thing. So then I had grown closer to a lot of, things on Smosh Twitter and their traditions and other popular fan accounts. And so I had already mentioned my journey to Sarah Christ in a space, and, that was like an outlet for me to be creative, like I'd said. I was inspired by Smosh, and I used the spaces, and after that, the roleplay accounts started to multiply, which, I'm a little desensitized to most things, but that absolutely blew me away. We saw the birth of Barilda, which my friend Max runs, Beef, which is run by Damien. By the way, they are absolutely hilarious. Two of my more, favorite roleplay characters. We got Redacted. We got Brianna Boho, The Chosen, Augustus. If you haven't seen the spaces, you need to go listen to them. I'm not just gonna, toot my own horn. But the conversations that we have in character, I literally can't go a space without breaking character just because of how funny they are. And with that, I guess that's what inspired me to do the podcast as well. Doing spaces on there, and then I did a space on Claire from AAA account on Twitter. And I was like, from here, I think I need to do this weekly. I think this needs to be a weekly thing. And I was like, hey, I did a poll on Twitter, and I wanted to do a podcast. And, it was all yeses, surprisingly. And now we're here. I think I got to most of, my non-thirst tweets only get to, a select few of my followers, so it was probably them, but I still wouldn't have done it if not for that. I wasn't expecting it to go too crazy. I did this for you guys, and, the Sarah, I love you all, and you make me laugh, and I love every single person that I've met in my time on Smosh Twitter. You have no idea. But now I leave you with this. If I ever decide to do this again, it will be an absolute treat for myself and you guys who have taken the time to come and listen to this podcast. But for now, settle for this. I'll see the outcome. I'll see if you guys want more. And if you do want more, please let me know, because I feel like this will give me an opportunity to do a lot more. So, I thank you for listening. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and night. And this has been Hardly Acceptable.